Thank you for joining us on TRP Live, a program created by the Reclamation Project, the folks who believe in no soul left behind. We hope to have candid discussions on real issues that impact people and to showcase stories that edify the Christian journey. Like tonight, I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Dent. Tonight, we're going to focus on a young lady that was locked up, got out, working on her licensed marriage family therapist license. So let's hear and bring out a young lady who is a native of Bakersfield, California. Today we're going to prove if she's lucky or is she godly. Hallelujah. You missed that. Let me try to get it now. Is she lucky or is she godly? We're going to find that out shortly. I'm going to say welcome. How are you feeling today?
I am feeling great, and thank you. I'm just laughing at that introduction. Am I lucky or godly?
Come on. We're going to find that out.
Yes, we will find that out because I want to know now. I'm trying to figure it out. Now I'm curious.
Hey, let me tell you something. As believers, we should not believe in luck because God has ordained our lives. There's no such thing as luck. But I wanted to throw that in just to let people know, are you lucky? Did you, how come you didn't have that car accident? Oh man, that was lucky. No, that was God's angel protecting you and leading you and guiding you. Let me start off with a text that I think will lay the foundation to our interview. It's found in 1 Timothy 6:2, and it says this, thusly, fight the good fight of the faith. Take hold of the eternal life to which you were called and about which you may the good confidence of the presence of many witnesses. Now, let me just start this little foundation. You have a powerful story. So you start off living with your parents. You had a mother and a father, and for some reason, your mother got on some substance, and that substance kind of drew a wedge for you, and things did not work out quite well with father. He did the best he could with what he had, but it wasn't good enough for you. And you found yourself with another wall with your father. And that wall was too deep and too high. So you said, I have to remove myself. And then you moved with your father's mother, your grandmother. And then you stayed with her for a while till another wall came up. And when that wall came up, it was time for you to move to your mother's mother. Now that you're at your mother's mother, and you're progressing school, and you are a track star. You only got 1 and 2 spots. You are just moving through this journey called life. You're an A student, so God blessed you with a mind. You had a made up mind academically that you knew that you can make it. So take this baton from here, my good sister, and tell us your story right now.
Okay, so I have to backtrack a little bit.
Come on.
Because, it's a couple of things that I need to make sure are clear. So in the beginning, yes, I had my mom and my dad, but my dad was in the military. So that's why he was not in the household.
Okay.
My mother was there, and she was, like you said, she did what she could do for me. And I actually ended up with my father's mother. That is who actually raised me while I was going to high school. Okay. I stayed with my grandmother for a little bit. It wasn't really long, my mother's mother, but I never really lived with her.
Okay.
Because she wanted to make sure I stayed with my mother. You know how generational trauma can be, Black families can be, sometimes we want to keep things within the family, and we want to make sure that we all stay together, even if that's not the healthiest thing for us. So I stayed with my mother for a long time, but once again, I moved with my father's mother. I always share that it was a culture shock, because my foundation is Seventh-day Adventist. That's, I was born and raised in the Seventh-day Adventist church, and that's what I know. But when I moved with my father's mother, they were Muslim. So I had to, learn how to engage with that side of my family, what was acceptable and what was not. And, listen to the things that they would say about Christians, just like, sometimes Christians say things about Muslims.
Right.
And, children can be very cruel.
Yes.
So at that time, I went through a lot of that. And like you said, I was just kind of soul searching. I really didn't know where I was going to end up, what was going to happen, but I knew that I was smart. So, of course, I was like, I'm going to go to school.
That's right.
That's what I have to do. I have to make sure I have an education. And, oh, excuse me. Sorry, my dog. That must have been an amen.
Hey, I didn't know you brought backup to this interview.
But yes, I wanted to make sure I stayed in school because I figured that was going to be my way out.
Okay.
And I also, once I started to see that school was not the way out and I was still stuck in the situation I felt like I was unable to get out of, that's when I became pregnant. I became pregnant in high school. And for me, it wasn't a bad thing. I know most people would be like, oh, that's horrible. But for me, I felt like it was my way out. It was my way out of my grandparents' house. It was my way out of poverty because like a lot of young girls my age, some may not admit this, but I did it because I needed an income. And at that time, you could get on welfare and get an apartment. So that's what I did. I got pregnant, I got an apartment, and I continued to go to school. And then I started to go to college and I got a job.
Okay. Can I just interrupt you just for a second?
Yes.
You're doing an outstanding job. You said I got pregnant. Was that intentional, or if you got pregnant, then you start making these decisions? How did that work?
It was not intentional because I actually got pregnant the first time I ever had sex.
Okay.
So I lost my virginity. I got pregnant, and that was that. It actually put me in a position to change and to transition and to change my way of thinking. And, you'll hear me say this throughout the interview, throughout my testimony that, I didn't know at the time, but it was God, because God knew what I needed.
That's right.
He knew how to make me hear what he was saying.
Right.
Because I had a lot of anger towards the church, towards my family, towards just, everyone, friends, because I did not feel I had support. I did not feel loved.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I did not love myself. I didn't know what that looked like. And so for me, having a child, I then had someone to love.
Right. You transferred it.
Someone to give the things that I did not get.
Yes. Yes.
And so that was my moment to be able to be someone that I could look up to, and also be someone else could look up to, because I felt like that was lacking in my life.
Okay. That's beautiful. Now that you have this child, you have someone that you can love. You can give her the love that you didn't get growing up. Now, take us to employment. So you have this child. We focused on the love part. Now let's focus on how you are going to finance yourself and your child.
So my first job, I worked at Wells Fargo Bank. So like I said, I've always had employment. I've always been extremely smart. So I was working at the bank and going to Bakersfield College. And that's how I survived. I was on welfare off and on. I would get food stamps and different things. And I worked at Wells Fargo for a couple of years, but there was no room for growth. I was young. It was my very first job, and I was a bank teller. A lot of the women there that were full-time were older women. They were older Caucasian women. And so those positions were solidified. They were not going anywhere. And there, once again, with no room for growth. So I was either going to stay there and make this part-time wage with no insurance, no raise, or I was going to work 2 jobs, which I started to do. At the time, I started working at a place called Lumberjack, which is kind of like Home Depot. So I was
Okay.
working there full time and working at the bank part time and going to school while raising my daughter. Um, welfare helped me get an apartment. So, I was appreciative of that because honestly, I was able to utilize those services to get on my feet, to be able to take care of myself, which is what I was striving to do.
That's beautiful. If you don't mind, we can go back just a little bit because
Okay.
I'm trying to establish a pattern. So
Okay.
you were glad that you were pregnant. You were glad that you had a child, so you can empower that child, pour into the love into that your daughter, your oldest child. That was poured into you.
Yes.
Now let's go back. So your oldest child's father, I believe you mentioned to me that he poured into love into you, that you said to yourself, hey, I love you and you're lovable. So he gave you some love that you hadn't felt or experienced or heard prior to that. So you took some of that love and then you gave that to your daughter.
Right.
Expound, yeah. Expound upon that. Just talk about that just a little bit before we get to the next step.
Once again, I was a child, so I'm not gonna say I don't know what he poured into me because I'm saying because I did not know what love looked like. So honestly, I can't even truly say that he loved me or that it was probably just the attention.
Okay.
Because when I say that I did not feel loved, I did not feel beautiful, I did not feel appreciated, I did not feel seen. Okay. And what I think he did was he saw me, and that's what I was looking for. He may not even have been interested in me. I don't know.
Right.
Because we were children, but he saw me and he paid attention to me. I will say that. And that's what I was looking for because that's what I had been lacking. I did not get that from my father. I did not get that from my mother. I did not get that from my family. And so me being an only child, I didn't have siblings to, lean on or siblings to play with or talk to when I was sad. It was all me. So with it only being me, I learned to lean on myself and that, since no one else was going to do it, I had to do it. So I just became, very strong and very, I don't want to say heartless, but I did not give my heart away easily because I had not had any love. And so whatever I got from him anyway, I got it. Right. And I thought that I was going to be able to pour that into my daughter, but I was not even able to do that because once again, I didn't know how to do that because nobody had told me that. So what I did is I poured myself into work, into school, thinking, okay, these are the things that are going to make my relationship with my daughter more successful. And that really put a wedge in our relationship because what I started to do is her father got married. So when he got married, I started to send my daughter over to his house and with him and his wife, thinking it was a better environment for her. Because I'm a single mother, and I have to work all these jobs. And, I felt I didn't have what she needed. And so I now know that really hurt our relationship because she felt like I was pushing her off on her father when I thought I was giving her a better roadmap for life.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. That's beautiful. I like what Dave Willis said. If you don't mind me sharing his words, he says this: a painful truth is always better than a hidden lie. That's why I love talking with you, because you're so transparent. Now, if you can be so kind to tell us, paint that picture for us, what happened just before you went into the prison walls. What transpired?
Well, I do like to clarify because I don't want to take anything away from people who have been to prison. I was looking at prison time, but I ended up just doing jail time. So I do want to make that clear, because I don't want anybody thinking I'm up here trying to act like I've been to prison and I'm hard, because there is a difference
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
jail and prison.
Yes, it is.
But the time right before I went to jail was obviously stressful. I did not tell my family in the beginning. I told them right at the end, right before I think I had to turn myself in.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that because, once again, I've always been the type to take care of myself and my own business.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, I don't like to hear people say, I told you so,
Mm-hmm.
or this is what I've expected of you, because I've heard that my whole life as well. I have always felt like, the black sheep, which
Mm-hmm.
once again is why I said I didn't feel, a lot of love,
Mm-hmm.
not from everyone in my family. I'm, not
Mm-hmm.
saying from everyone, but, I really felt like the black sheep.
Mm-hmm.
And just a lot of things that we deal with just as black women and black people,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into that, but, just a lot of the things that we deal with just in our black families.
Yes.
It takes a toll on an
Yes.
individual, and it hinders their growth.
Yes.
And so for me, that was my story. And so it took me a long time to really accept that it didn't matter what other people thought, or, if my family was supportive of what I was doing, as
Right.
long as I was supportive of me, and as long
Yes.
as I knew what I was doing was right,
Mm-hmm.
and that I didn't have any malicious intent while doing it. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to make sure that after I messed up, that I cleaned up.
Yes.
What
Say
I
that.
did
Say that again, child. You got to say that again.
after I messed up, that I cleaned up.
Come on.
And so I did not feel like, not that I didn't need help, but I did not feel like I deserved any help,
Mm-hmm.
because I needed to fix the mess that I had
Mm-hmm.
made for myself. And so I just started to fix it. And it was hard, and it was stressful, and I was anxious, and it was lonely, and I really
Yes.
thought a lot of the times that I wasn't going to make it. But once again, I was always able to, fall back on my foundation. You
Yes.
I used to always say that I, was alone, and I did it alone. And I know that I just said that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Come on.
after I think about it, I always know that I was never alone.
That's right.
I know that God was always with me,
Mm-hmm.
because that foundation was, it's been built in me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
even though, I stopped going to church at an early age, I
Mm-hmm.
did not want to. That was something that I loved. That was something that I think that's the only thing that probably saved me.
Yes.
That's what a lot of my morals and values, that's where they came from.
Yes.
And I kept them, even though, I was doing whatever I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
I still kept that with me. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the only way I was able to come back and regain my strength and regain my courage and regain my self-esteem, because I didn't have any of those things. And I see you guys. I'm sorry. I love you too, Sharon. I love all of you guys. Thank you, friend. But
That's
yeah.
so beautiful.
So yeah, it's been a lot, but I definitely have leaned on God. You know, I do it a lot by myself, obviously, because I once again haven't been to church in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I do miss that community, and I do get that from my sisters, because
Mm-hmm.
I had once again, a really good foundation, at
Mm-hmm.
church, and the
Mm-hmm.
individuals that I did build that support system with, we are very close, and we do still talk, and I do appreciate that support, and I know it's genuine.
That's
So
good.
that's, something that I lean on. And then a lot of my friends and sisters that I met along the way, from work, from school. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you don't know how many people will support you.
Yes.
You don't know how many individuals will really pray for you
Hmm.
that, you didn't even know prayed. People
Hmm.
that you have just met.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
have a friend that I can call on right now. I've called on her multiple times. I met her through work. We
Hmm.
didn't know each other long, and she knew me through school
Hmm.
and said, "Oh, I know you." And I was like, "Oh, you do? Okay, girl, okay." We
Yeah.
hit it off,
Right. Right.
and
Right.
I know that, and I know other women that are praying women,
Yes. Yeah.
but she is a praying woman.
Hmm.
And this woman, I can call her. And I call her Lil Kim because I know a couple of Kims and she knows she's my Lil Kim.
Hmm. Hmm.
This woman, I can call her at any time. She will pray for me. She has prayed for me, wrote a prayer on Facebook. We have prayed over the phone. I can text her and say, pray and get a long text back.
Yes. Yes.
I have a sister that, and once again, I'm my mom's only child. My dad has 5 children. But when I
Hmm.
say a sister, these are not people that are related to me. These are people that are my sisters because they are blessings to me.
Yes.
I
Yes.
have a sister that I can call that I know gets up every morning and gets on the prayer line at 4 a.m.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that I don't know other women that don't do this, but this young lady, I know that I can call her. I feel comfortable
Yes.
with her. I know that she's going to pray for me and she's not going to judge me.
That's the key.
So that's the key. That's the support
Hmm.
that I look for because of my experience. And
Yes.
that's what I promote. And that's what I like to, make sure that I encourage as well, because I think that we fall short when it comes to that. We still do a lot of the old ways, and it's nothing
Right.
wrong with that.
Hmm.
But we
Hmm.
need to be flexible and we need to have a lot of these new ways as well.
Right. Right.
Because
So
we
now let me just ask you this question. You have a beautiful testimony, and I'm praying with you as you are giving your testimony. I just want to say this. We serve a God that has a plan and a purpose for our lives. We serve a God that is greater than my troubles. Hallelujah. Than your troubles. We serve a God that makes all things possible. So let's transition. You now have come to a point in your journey that you said, I'm going to surrender myself. Take us walking in to the jailhouse, share some of your emotions. But just before you do that, I just want to ask you a question.
okay.
Did 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 the pastor call you? Did the first elder call you or sent you a text? We're praying for you. Did the deacons of the church call you? Wait, I know the choir director called you because they called you when they wanted you to sing alto in the choir, right?
Right.
But did anyone in the church that you grew up that loves you called you? Talk about that for a minute.
Well, I have to say, first I'm gonna answer your question.
Come on now.
It's a serious question.
Yes, yes, yes.
The answer is no, but
Come on.
I do have to say that I told my family that I did not want to be visited. I told my family that, I did not, I didn't want to see anybody because this was my time to regroup. This
Mm-hmm,
was my time to clear my mind
mm-hmm,
and get my life back on track because I was not able to do that while I was out. I was running amok. I was in
mm-hmm,
an unhealthy relationship
mm-hmm.
and I needed to get off the streets. I'm
Okay.
not saying that, I'm jealous for everybody and that works for everybody.
Mm-hmm,
But for me, that's what I needed. I had my aha moment when, I was like, okay, this is it. They gave me my time
mm-hmm,
and, I went in and I was like, okay, I'm going to leave all my worries and my troubles out here.
mm-hmm.
This is a time for me. I don't have to pay any bills. I don't have to do anything except figure out who I am.
Yes, yes.
So I said, let me take this time and let me do that. While I was in there, I was in there with a lot of people I knew, family included,
Mm-hmm.
but I also met some individuals that I was connected to that I did not know I was connected to. I met a couple of my classmates' parents that shared their stories with me, that shared different things with me that
Mm-hmm.
really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And it made me really appreciate the things that I had on the outside. Number one, it made me appreciate my family, regardless, if we got along or not. I
Mm-hmm.
had a family that, you know, came from something and was trying to do something, if nothing else.
Right.
And so they were trying to show me something different. And so I felt like I was taking things for granted by being there. I felt like I was taking a bed from someone who probably didn't have a bed and was cold,
Mm-hmm.
that might, be out there in the rain and need that roof over their head. I was taking that meal away from that person that was hungry, because those are things that I had. I had
Mm-hmm.
I had a place to live. And
Mm-hmm.
even if I couldn't afford those things, I had people who were willing to put a roof over my head. But once again, I didn't need those things. I didn't need anybody to do that for me, because I always made a way, because God helped me make a way.
That's right. That's right.
No matter what happened,
Mm-hmm.
He always made a way for me. And so I really felt like you should be ashamed of yourself. I started telling myself, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You are in here with these women who have lost their children,
Mm-hmm.
who are addicted to drugs, who are homeless, who have moved here across state and don't have any family, who are
Mm-hmm.
struggling with mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not struggling with any of these things. You're just stupid. And that
What?
that didn't fly right with me. That didn't sit right with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that was the moment when I was like, okay, I need to definitely do something, and I'm going to start doing it when I get out. So prior to turning myself in, um, I was interested in school, because I had really started, cleaning my life up prior to getting in trouble. But
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people that, God has a way of fixing everything so you don't have to backtrack.
Yes. Come on.
What God did for me is He made sure that everything was taken care of.
Yes.
And He made sure that once I went to jail, I
Mm-hmm.
was never going to have to go back.
Yes.
So while I was in there, multiple charges started popping up because I had
Mm-hmm.
other stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
But God made sure everything was ran concurrent so that I was able to do my time together and get out and not have to go back and deal with anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I was blessed by that as well.
Let
So
me
He
just
continued. Go
go
ahead.
on. No, no, no.
I was
You.
just going to say He continued to show up and show out for me.
Yes, yes. So you just got me excited. So I'm just gonna just jump out and say it. I'm 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 erasing Lucky. Lucky is out the door. You are a godly woman of God. Forget I posed the question at the beginning, or were you lucky or godly? You are a godly woman. And let me just read this real
I know
quickly.
I'm blessed.
You're blessed and you're highly favored of God.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
and I want to go somewhere. So you're dealing with the mind. You're inside the jail. So but let me just read something for you real quick, and then I want you to work on the psychosocial aspect.
Okay.
And you get ready to come out. What's some
Mhm.
things you need to do? I know you were talking with your advisor at the school, and you were working uh, in jail, still working on your curriculum, and so that was a good thing. But let me read this to you because I'm picking this up. That's why I'm removing Lucky. Faith doesn't always take you out of your problems. Faith takes you through the problem. Faith doesn't always take you away from the pain. Faith gives you the ability to handle the pain. Faith doesn't always take you out of the storm. Faith calms you in the midst of the storm. And while you're in jail, I can hear and feel that storm. So take us out that storm and guide us through the next part of your life journey.
Okay. I love you guys too, Auntie and Uncle. And so that next transition, like I said, I was in there just making moves, making plans, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Like you said, I was talking to my financial advisor, my academic advisor at school.
Mm-hmm.
The entire time that I was incarcerated, they knew everything. I never hid anything. I told them I'm in jail. This is how long I'll be in there.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do? So, they worked with me. They gave me certain, extensions, and they put holds on there. They gave me a leave. They did all this so I would
Mm-hmm.
not be dropped from school.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, they kind of set me up. So I really didn't know when I was going to get out. I got out a little early because I got out on sheriff's parole. When I got out on sheriff's parole, everybody was telling me, no, just finish your time. Sheriff's parole is a trick. They're going to set you up. But I'm like, no, I know that I'm not getting in any more trouble. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
worried about it. So I can get out on sheriff's parole,
Right,
So,
right.
I got out on sheriff's parole. And the day that I got out, the next day I went back to school. I was back in class. So my instructors were extremely shocked.
Mm-hmm.
They were like,
Mm-hmm.
didn't you go to jail? What's going on? You're
Mm-hmm.
back. And I'm like, yeah, I'm back. We're not going to worry about that. I'm here to learn. Let's go.
Right.
So, at that point, they're still telling me, well, we don't know if you're going to be able to graduate. We don't know if this is the best field for you because you have a record, and you're going to need to get this record expunged. You have over $17,000 in restitution to pay, and you don't have a job. We don't think that this is doable.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what? Just let me worry about this. I got this. I have a
Mm-hmm.
plan.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, then it doesn't, but I'm not going to give up right now. I stayed with my grandmother. She told me I could stay with her for about 6 months. I think I stayed with her for 2 or 3 months or 2.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved into my own place. I was already working because once again, I had very good relationships within the community. I have a
Mm-hmm.
very good work ethic. I've worked my entire life. So I didn't have a problem getting a job, but I could not work full-time permanent jobs because of my record. I had a felony.
Mm-hmm.
And so I worked for agencies. A lot of people talk down on temp agencies, but that's how I survived for over 10 years. I worked at a temp job. I would work it for 3 to 4 to 5 months. As soon as they would try to hire me on permanent, I would tell them I'm not interested in anything permanent and look for a different position. Because if I went permanent, they would have to do a background check on me and I had a
Mm-hmm.
felony, and I wouldn't be hired. So I had to maneuver the way I knew how to maneuver. And that's how I knew how to survive.
Mm-hmm.
When I could not work, I survived on my financial aid. That was
Mm-hmm.
another reason that I made sure I went to school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any way to pay my bills because I went to jail for welfare fraud. So I couldn't get, or actually I could get welfare, but I didn't want anymore
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like they had trapped me, which they trap a lot of Black women, but that's neither here nor there. But
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
felt like, if I would have known what was going on, if I would have read a little more, if I would not have
Mm-hmm.
been scared, then I would not have been put in the situation I was in.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, everything happens for a reason. And if I wouldn't have gone to jail, I would not have changed my life. So I appreciate everything that happened,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But at the end of the day, everything definitely worked out because there were times when I was about to be evicted. I think every single year, about 3 times a year, I had an eviction notice because once again, I didn't have stable employment and I was surviving on my financial aid. So when I would get my financial aid every 3 months, that's when I would pay my rent every 3 months. But once again, by the grace of God, he put me with a landlord
Come on
that was
now.
to work with me, that knew me personally, that I had went to school with. And he was very supportive. He knew my story. He was the reason I was always able to, gain housing no matter what situation I was in. So I
Mm-hmm.
really appreciated him as well. So God has
Mm-hmm.
always placed people in my life to where
Yes.
I'm able to, progress, and I'm able to do things that I'm supposed to do,
Yes.
and still mentor the individuals that maybe others have forgot, because I
Hmm.
feel like I was one of those that fell in that category. I was
Hmm.
one of those that people probably did not think needed help, but I needed and wanted help. I
Hmm.
was one of those that was probably looked over because she didn't fit into that mold of what
Hmm.
everyone else fit into, but I still needed somebody, and those are the people, and that's why I'm in the profession that I'm in.
Let me ask you something, and I'm feeling this, and I just need to ask you this: where is the root or the source of your strength? Every story, just every storyline that you've told so far, there's a strength. It seems like you get stronger by each storyline. You get stronger. Where did you get your strength from?
I
Did
don't
you
know.
did you develop it while you were going? But
I
look
guess,
here.
I mean, it has to be nothing but God. I mean, I've been
Yes.
this once again, in my opinion, I've been struggling since I can remember, since I was a child.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't really know the depth of my pain, and the root of
Hmm.
my, I
Hmm.
guess, the anger that I had,
Hmm.
and why I needed to really work on me,
Hmm.
because I had a lot of just I was very angry.
Hmm.
I felt used and abused. I felt very broken.
Hmm.
I felt unworthy,
Hmm.
and just for me to be able to say that now, I know that I'm no longer in that place, because I did not feel any love, and I did not feel strong, even though people would always tell me I was strong. And I
Hmm.
think once again, it came just from me being alone
Hmm.
for so long. Being an only child, you learn to depend on yourself. You do have to find that strength,
Hmm. Hmm.
because if you don't have it, who's going to give it to you?
Right.
Especially if you're not getting that from your parents.
Hmm.
And with me going through, physical abuse, mental abuse, verbal abuse, from my mother, from, certain individuals in my family,
Hmm.
that along with everything else, that just caused me to really pour everything once again into my education, because I felt if I'm smart, if nothing else, I'll get attention from that, because I'm not looking for attention beauty wise, because I didn't feel beautiful,
Okay.
so I wasn't looking for it on the outer layer. So I
Hmm.
felt like I need to be smart, and that's what will draw people to me. That's what will make people love me. So for a
Hmm.
long time, that's how I built my relationships.
So now let me ask you this: how did you feel when you crossed the finish line in first place? Did your speed contribute to some of your external or internal wellness? How did you feel when you crossed the line and they gave you a trophy in your hand? Did that help boost some of your esteem, or tell us about that?
Ooh, honestly, I'm gonna tell you no.
Okay.
It didn't come until later in life. So I never even was able to celebrate my accomplishments,
Hmm.
because I did not feel anyone else cared about my accomplishments. And
Mm.
so I tread very lightly in even celebrating myself. So I didn't even know how to celebrate myself until later in life.
Mm.
So
Mm.
when I
Mm.
graduated, yeah, I was like, okay, I'm graduating, but I was happy and I knew it was something,
Hmm.
but I still felt like, okay, that's just one step. You
Hmm.
still have to prove to everybody that you're not who you used to be, because I still felt like everyone was looking down on me.
Hmm.
Whether that was, me looking down on myself, because I know a lot of that had to do with my perception of myself as well.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it was also, how others perceived me as well. And so I had to learn not to worry about what others think, and not to worry about other people's perception. But I also had to learn how to give myself a different perception of myself. I had to learn that I was once again worthy, that I was great, and that I
Yes.
deserved better,
Yes.
and that my past didn't define me. My family does not define me.
Yes.
What happened to me does not define me. My behaviors didn't even define me.
That's
I had
right.
to learn that, all of those things just contributed to the woman that I was meant to be, and I
Yes.
was on my way. But once again, that door was just, it had just been cracked. And I was just peeking
Okay.
through it. And I was still scared to walk through it.
Okay. So you graduated from high school with Breeze.
Mhm.
Tell us how you felt when you were brought in front of the class to do your spelling bees. How you were able to articulate and just spell all the words. How did that work on your psyche?
As a child,
Yes.
um, it made me feel good. I mean, it made me feel good because other people were rooting for me, and
Hmm.
people made me feel special. But I mean, I did not feel once again supported
Hmm.
because none of my family was there, and
Hmm.
those are the people as a child that you want to be there. Especially if you're doing something that you think is good and you're getting awards,
Hmm.
and that's what happened with me as a child. I always got awards, whether it was in track, whether it was for academics,
Hmm.
whether it was, for just doing things for other people. I
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
vice president in school, in junior high, and
Hmm.
I was always doing something. I always was trying to hold some type of class title, and
Hmm.
I didn't have that support until I got to a school, um, which was McKinley Elementary, which I met my track coach there. He was the only individual at that time that did pour into me.
Yes.
One of the reasons that I did feel love. He was one of the reasons that I did feel support. I don't know if he knows this, which I hope he does, but and I do tell him, but he was one of the reasons that, I felt like I had something to prove to him,
Mm.
not to anyone else. But when I did something great, I owed him, that
Hmm.
respect, because he
Hmm.
poured into me. He made sure I was at school. He made sure I ate. He made sure I had the things that I needed. And that's what
Hmm.
I needed, somebody to be there for me and be, supportive and be that parent. And
Hmm.
like we hear all the time, it takes
The
you
village.
know, a village to
Hmm.
raise a child. And I don't think that at that time when I was growing up, I know that villages were helping to raise other children,
Hmm.
but my village fell short.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
they did the best that they could, and they gave me what they could at that time,
Hmm.
and I now
Hmm.
understand.
Let me ask you this, Chanel. What happened to the coach who was investing time, investing your talent, helping you with food? What happened? How did that relationship sever? How was that severed? And how painful was
That
that
relationship
for you?
severed, because I was spending so much time with him that my mother did not like that, and he told her that he was going to, report her, or he was going to take me away from her, and so she told the police that he had kidnapped me and that he was doing
Mm.
something to me, which he wasn't.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so that way I would no longer be able to engage with him. And she had me stop running track. And so she stopped that relationship. I did still, have a relationship with him as I got older, because once
Hmm.
again, him and his wife were intricate people in my life. They were, great role models. They helped me a lot. They brought me in their family. They showed
Hmm.
me something different. They were supportive, of my children. They were positive role models for my children. And
Hmm.
so I wanted to make sure that I stayed connected with them. So I still, once I
Hmm.
had a child and I wasn't really in my mother's care anyway, I
Right.
still engaged with them.
That's so beautiful. I, I, well, I've asked the question before, where'd you get your inner strength? And the answer is ultimately God. That's why you're a godly woman. And I want to open up a little Pandora's box that I think the viewers need to hear. And that is this: you're able to articulate oh so eloquently now because you decide to go to get some therapy yourself.
Yes.
And that therapy helped you to be able to tell your story that is extremely painful. And I know when I first time talking to you, this is the first time actually seeing you or meeting you, that you told me that I hope I can get through this thing without crying, and I can hear and feel some of your pain, but I'm praying for you even as I'm talking with you now. So share with us how the therapy helped you to be able to be a more well-rounded woman and a better parent.
Well, obviously therapy has helped me to open up a lot, and just
Hmm.
talk about a lot of these things that I was never able to talk about before.
Okay.
As a child and just, once again growing up, I always heard, what happens in the family stays in the family. And then
Hmm.
also, just because children are very harsh, I was ridiculed a lot. I was chastised a lot. I was made fun of because of the environment I came from. And
Hmm.
so that led me to not want to open up because I was embarrassed.
Hmm.
I was embarrassed of, where I came from.
Hmm.
And so therapy helped me once again to embrace where I came from because once again, it makes me the woman that I am. And
Yes.
also just accept, the cards that I was dealt, because if I would have been dealt different cards, where would I be? I don't
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
And I don't even want to think about that because I have already dealt with a lot. I've already overcome a lot of barriers.
Yes.
So to say if things would have been changed or would have been different, that it wouldn't have been harder,
Hmm.
you know, for me, or it would have been something that I would not have been able to handle.
Hmm.
Everything that has happened to me has happened for a reason. And it's because God knew that I was going to be able to handle it. And He knew how I was going to come out on the other end. So at the end of the day, I'm appreciative of everything that has happened. I'm no longer ashamed or afraid to speak up, about
Yes.
things because I know that there are a lot of individuals like me
Hmm.
who are struggling and who are not as strong as me,
Hmm.
who need to let these things out, but just, don't know how to, or may be embarrassed, or, just may not have the strength right now and may need that additional push to be able to express their feelings and really let things out because that's what we need to do to be able to grow. And I know now that I am that voice.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I do every day. That's what I'm striving to do. That's what I'm doing in my LLC. I'm making sure that I am that voice for individuals who have not been able to find that voice previously. I
Hmm.
want to help them find those tools. I want to help them find that inner strength so they can be that better person. Because at the end of the day, if nobody's telling you you're great, you need
Hmm.
to figure out how to tell yourself you're great.
There you go. There you go. That's powerful. Um, Man, I could talk to you for about 2 or 3 hours, but we're gonna wrap this thing up. Not now, but we're heading toward wrapping it up. And if you don't mind, if we can do a part two, because we're still in Bakersfield and you've completed high school and you've completed your BA. And I want to pick up next time on working on and finishing your master's degree and some things that happened in Bakersfield. And then I want us to come on down to Los Angeles where you relocated, and then we can
Yeah.
talk about some of the transitions that happened there. Um,
Okay.
so let me just say this: I said it before. We will not put lucky and godly in the same sentence with you. And
Okay.
I am proud of you. I feel closer to God in listening to your story. And I believe you could write an article or book on your life story because it will help someone. And you have so much positive energy coming out of something that was negative. And so you are a great influence to other people. Uh, but just before the last question I want to ask you, we have about 5 more minutes, then I'm going to segue out. I want to ask you this question. Do you see a little bit of you in your daughters? Are the oldest or the youngest? Do you see some of the characteristics and attributes of you? And do you go and try to navigate them or relocate them, redirect them through the path and say, Mama knows, Mama's been there, and I don't want you to do or deal with how Mama did?
Um, I don't necessarily say that because, as we know, kids don't always do what we tell them, and they go the opposite direction.
True.
But I have seen, or I do see myself in both of my daughters. My oldest daughter, I see a lot of how I was when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I didn't know who I was, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying she doesn't know because she says she knows who she is. So I'm not going to say she doesn't, but from what I see a lot
Mm-hmm.
of myself in her.
Okay.
Um, my youngest daughter, the same thing. When I was in the streets, I had her, and she is in the streets. And so I do make sure that she is balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if that's working, but I try to do the best that I can. But what I am is very transparent with them. The same way that I am right now with you, I
Mm-hmm.
am with my children. And I feel that that is the best way to be
Yes.
because they have gone on this journey with me as well. They have been traumatized as well. When I
Mm-hmm.
went to
Mm-hmm.
jail, I had them. When I was going through being evicted or didn't have a job or didn't have any money, they were with me. So they seen me and they experienced all these things with me. So at the end of the day, anything that I learned through therapy, anything that I learned through my education,
Mm-hmm.
anything that I teach my clients currently, I
Mm-hmm.
try to implement that in my personal life as well
Mm-hmm.
because we can always learn something. And I am not someone who doesn't feel like she can learn. I'm learning something every day. I learn when I work with my clients every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make sure I'm passing that along to my children. I'm not saying that they're taking it in, but once again, the more that you talk, at least if they take one thing from whatever I'm saying, then that's all I can ask for.
Good, good, good. Oh, that's it's so beautiful. Have your children ever asked you while you were going along this journey called life, Mommy, why did you do that? Well, how come you didn't go this way? Why did you go that way? Did they ever ask you why are we here? How did we get here? Even though they were along the journey, did they ever ask you
We
those?
have not, and that's because once again, I've always been transparent. Anything that I've
Mm,
done,
mm-hmm,
anything, even when I was going to jail or when I was going to court prior to going
mm-hmm,
to jail, they knew what was going on. I've
mm-hmm,
always told them because once again, I didn't have that relationship with my mother. I didn't have that open communication.
mm-hmm,
I wanted to make sure that my children always knew what was going on. I didn't want anybody to ever be able to come and tell them we're about to take your mom or them be surprised one
mm-hmm,
day I'm gone or
mm-hmm,
just anything. And I want them to be just as educated as I am in these areas, even if they haven't experienced it firsthand. They can
okay.
never have too much information. So at the end of the day, I'm street smart and I'm book smart. And I want my kids to be the same. If nothing else, even though I have a master's degree,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I feel like I have a master's in life.
Yes, come on.
So my children listen. I'm not saying once again they listen to everything because of course there are going to be some things that they don't listen to. But
Mm-hmm,
when I talk about the streets, when I talk about different things that I've been through and they've seen
mm-hmm,
firsthand
mm-hmm,
because of my family and my friends, then
mm-hmm.
they listen and they know.
Excellent. I want to end on this note because it's your whole story is so beautiful. But there's one thing that you said today. Everything you said was good. It was educational. It was motivation. But there's one thing that you said today that is close to my heart, and I want to just highlight that. Is that God surrounded you with people to love you. Those women that you talked about. If you're going to
Yeah.
get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Two, if you called them and said, I need you, they'll be, if they tell you they'll be there in 30 minutes, they will actually show up. So
Yeah.
while you were talking, you know what? I'm blessed too because I got some friends like that too. And the first person that it's my boy said I got to do it because we talked about that this morning in our devotion. That hey, if you need me, all you do is call. But
Right.
you can't say that to everybody. I'm talking
Okay.
about Paul Christopher Stevenson. That's my
Yeah.
boy. And Stan Mackey. So we would say to each other, if we actually receive a call from each other, whatever we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to notify our wives and say, honey, my boy needs me.
Mhm.
And the wives know our relationship. They'll say, all right, call me when you get there.
Right. Right.
And I felt excited because that you were excited about, and then you went on to say, hey, they're not my blood sisters. Who cares? The blood sometimes hurts you more than it's whoever takes care of business, whoever's close to you, whoever comes through. That's your brother.
Yeah.
That's your sister. And girl, you just talk. I mean, I got a little caught up there, but God knows what you need, and He
Yeah.
gave you what you needed. And it's beautiful. And I can't wait to interview again. We're going to put another time for next month, if you don't mind,
Okay.
that we come back and we talk about what led you out of Bakersfield to come into LA and what were some things that you're doing or had to do and will continue to do on this journey called life. We have about 4 more minutes. And I wanted you to just give your closing words, anything that you want to say, and I'll just say a few things, and then we maybe want to take one question for those out there in cyberspace. I
Okay.
see Joni. No, okay, go on.
I just want to say, to the people that are watching, anything that you put your mind to, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what your past is, no matter what card you're dealt, those aren't the cards that you have to play with.
Yes.
You can always change those cards. You can always change the name of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I know people will tell you that you cannot do that,
Mm-hmm.
but your life is your life. So you could play it how you want to. Don't
That's
let
right.
anybody else tell you it has to be played a certain way. So I just want to say that because once you hear the rest of my story, you'll know that once again, anything is possible. God is good. He is real. And
That's
every
right.
time it's time for him to show up and show out, if it's really meant, he will
Mm-hmm.
do.
Amen. So I'm going to end with that text that I started off with. 1 Timothy 6:12. I won't read the entire verse, but I'll just read this part. It says, fight the good fight of faith. My dear sister, you have fought in the past tense. The present tense, you are fighting now.
Thank
And
you.
and I would like to come to your next graduation to sit there and say, I know her. She's a fighter. And she has no gloves on, but I see her in the ring knocking them out, just knocking them out. The devil sees this woman coming to the ring, and she's 7 feet tall, 300 pounds. And you look at it and go, she's just another one. Let's go. And you start knocking them out.
Yeah, I like to tell people that's when I do my best work, when my back's against the wall.
Come
Okay,
on.
I rope a dope somebody real quick in this
Come
thing
on.
called life.
See, I wasn't even gonna go there, but see, so I'm gonna have to end on this thing because we can keep talking. So I was gonna say, let me just say what I was gonna say, but I know the answer. Are you a baby thug or thug? Because I'm picking up some different vibes now.
I'm not even
There
going
you
to
go.
lie. I'm very well rounded, you guys. I
Come
tell
on.
people I can go from the White House to the Black House. And if you don't know what that means, then I'll explain what that means.
I like that. I like that. So we're gonna sign off. Thank you so much. We'll get another time that we can come back and finish up your story because your story needs to be told and we need to hear your story. And so thank you so much for coming to TRP to
Thank you for
share your
having
story.
me.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, everybody. And I love you guys.
All right.